gentlemen, welcome back to preferably one of your favorite podcasting shows on the planet. And we got another hot episode coming your way with the great Larry Hankin. He's a veteran to the game of BoomBastiCAST. He's been with us many a times, and it's always a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about some books, writing books, the early days of off-color comedy, which we love. Get into some of the trials and tribulations of that. Can get crazy out there, you know what I mean? And then of course we're gonna wrap this bad boy up with stuff we know you all know and love when it comes to BoomBastiCAST, mashing up with Larry Hankin. You gonna get yourself some end of world doom apocalypse type talk. And we definitely got that for y'all at the end of this episode. We tagged some in there for you because we know what the fans really like. BoomBastiCAST fans say, baby, bring on the end of the world. I want it all to end right now. And, we say, hey, slow down, brother. Slow down, brothers and sisters. Enjoy the time that you're allowed to have. Because when the clock strikes 12 and it's over, you're going to be wishing you had a couple more moments. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean? But I can't wait to get into this and talk to Larry again. What do you think? You want to say anything before we bring Larry into the episode?
Just that it's great to have him back. We love it when we have guests that enjoy their time on the show and want to come back and talk about their newest projects, what they want to promote. And Larry's one of those guys that he's always busy. He's always being creative, and we're going to talk about how it is to write a book and the trials and tribulations behind that.
Yeah,
And it's always interesting. I mean, we've had authors on the show, and we've had actors who've also written books, and it's interesting because I know that Larry he wrote a memoir, and he also wrote a kind of a series of short little vignettes. So I just can't wait to talk to him and find out more about his inspiration and how he got into starting writing.
hell yeah. Hell yeah, my friend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, reoccurring guest, fan favorite. We want to welcome back to the BoomBastiCAST the great and wonderful Larry Hankin. Larry, welcome back to the BoomBastiCAST. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
And, other than March, everything's been fine. I've been writing books. I'm writing books now. I'm on my second book.
I like that.
So I kind of have stopped acting for a while, just to give myself a rest.
I mean, you got a great legacy of acting behind you.
I guess Zoom is kind of, well, yeah, but what's behind me is behind me. I can't. It doesn't affect me anymore.
Yeah.
You're always looking to do something with the day.
Yeah, dude, keep it.
So I figured I'd start writing.
So how do you like writing? I know you got the 2 books under your belt now. It's when did you always wrote though? Weren't you writing for many years before, like short stories and such? And
Well, but I didn't do anything. Yeah, I didn't do anything with it.
yeah,
I mean, I just would write and put it in a drawer, right? It's like every other human being. You just write something and either throw it away or you put it in a drawer. But that's as far as it goes, and that's what I was doing. And then one day I thought, I want to do something else besides audition and act and memorize. And I opened the drawer and I go, oh wow, man, let me see if I can, So the first book was called That Guy, because nobody knows my name. They goes, oh, you're that guy, and you're in that.
yeah.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
That's the one. Yeah. So that got me started. But I didn't know how to write. I mean, in other words, I was just writing and putting it in drawers. I had no idea about if I was writing a book or I was just, just typing, bullshit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, no, and then I was telling these show business stories. of my life, well, back in the day, and we did this and blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, someday I'm going to forget all this. Your mind just grows.
Yeah.
So I thought, why don't I just write that down, all these stories? So I just started with, in in order. I just started when my first job, and I just kept on remembering, oh, and then I did this, and then I did this, and writing it down, and that was the book. And I thought, what'll I call it? And we went through thousands of, names, really cool names.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, well, why don't you say Larry Hankin? I said, nobody knows my name, Larry Hankin. Well, then I go, oh, that guy. Okay. So there you go. That's one book out. So then the first one, they say that about stand up. If you want to be, and that was how I started. Then the word got around that, and I was really, really funny, and I was doing very well as a stand-up comedian. I was opening for, Kingston Trio and Miles Davis, and I was doing okay. And I wanted to make a record, and they say that's kind of dangerous, and I go, why? And they go, well, because you've been working on, your shtick and your 20 minutes, you got it all solid and you got a backup. But that took you 2 years, of working in coffee houses and,
Develop.
and you're working and reworking and blah, 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 until you get a solid, maybe 40 minutes that you can juggle with. Okay. And then you put it on a record. Now the record does well, maybe as well as you were being a comedian, a stand-up. But you've already put everything you've worked on a record, and it's out there. You've got to come up with, and that means you got to start all over. You got to come up with now 40 new minutes. And that is the hard part. Because the first part, you're beginning, so you're not thinking about the future or the past. You're just working day by day and making it better and better. And then when you get it really tight and really together, you sell it, and now you got to start all over. And that's a bitch, man. It really is hard. And all comedians finally have to face that. So it's the second, and so it's like the book. The second one is way harder than the first, even though it's hard to do the first, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The first podcast, the first movie. You got to follow that up, or what's the use? What's the sense? So yeah, so I finally. It took me a year. I didn't, I thought, why do authors take so long to write a book? And I said, well, I'm working on this for 2 years. And I thought, no, because I had the book already. I mean, I didn't know I had it. I had a life in show business. And whenever I got around to writing it, I just wrote it. It was all there, the memory, blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't hard because everything I put in the book, that guy, I did. So it wasn't like making up a life. It was just remembering what you did in 1940 well, that's, no, 1970.
Yeah.
You just remember, you ask a few friends, hey, do you remember that thing I did? Yeah, what was that all about? So you both know the same thing, and you can just, so it took me 6 months to write the first one. And it was fun because, I was remembering, the good times, the bad times. Cool. And it was fun. And then I got a publisher, and boom. So I thought, well, I'll just lay back now and the money will roll in.
Yeah.
That's the big joke of all.
I'm gonna say.
So they go, write another one now that you got the first one out and you got a publisher. And the publisher even said, when he released it, Bear Manor Media. But when the book came out, here's the first hitch, because you don't know anything. You just think, oh, you get it published and the money rolls in. No, you got to get it proofread. There's a lot of, bullshit
Red tape.
that has nothing to do with the writing. It's for the publisher, and do you want pictures in it, and where do the pictures go, and they're separate, and you got to. Okay, so you finally get it out, and it does really well on Amazon. It's got a 4.4 out of 5, which is very high. So that's like a bestseller type of stuff. But it's too expensive. I didn't realize that the publisher and Amazon have control of the price. I have nothing to do with that.
Interesting.
So the book is now 28 bucks,
Yeah.
which to me, I don't buy books for 28 bucks. I wait, until it comes out, you know,
Yeah.
in a little. Yeah, okay, I'll buy it. Uh, so I've read, because he said, "Well, I like the book you wrote. That guy, that's really good. What's your next book going to be?" And I go, whoa, what's that all about? And so I got to come up with another book because my I was out for this 6 months it took to write it. I just quit doing acting. And in the meantime, my agents, there was two, they both retired. So by the time you write a book, and I have this history of acting, if your agents retire and they were with me all the way through and they retire, to go back and find another agent, during COVID and then after COVID, and it was just too much. It's very hard. It's very hard to start over again. So that's like, hey, why don't you write another book, or why don't you write a book? To get another agent for acting, when I thought, well, they'll always be there. No, they won't.
Mm.
If I stopped, well, I mean, they had other clients, but
Yeah.
I guess everybody kind of had the same idea at the same time. Uh, so I thought, well, no, I'll write the second book. But the second book, I already, put out my life. It's a memoir. That's what it is. It's a memoir. So I had to make up now a book. And that is really hard. And then you have to go according to the rules of writing fiction, because what I wrote wasn't fiction. What I wrote was nonfiction. And nonfiction is easier because it comes from real life, something that actually happened from somebody. Um, and second, making up a book length story. And then I go, oh, that's why it takes 2 years to write a book.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you have to, there's no timeline to it. I mean, I make up a thing about a car crash. A guy's in a car crash, or maybe I was in a car crash. But I make it up. Well, what came before that? I mean, the car crash took like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And you go to the hospital, okay, and maybe you were drunk or high or something, and you didn't know, or you were sick, and that's what caused the car crash. But there's stuff all over the place that happened way before it and way after that you have no idea how you got into the car crash. You have to make that up and make it interesting,
Mm.
and make it all fit together. I don't recommend entertainment at all. Any kind of entertainment.
You
It's,
gotta be.
the first one is always the easiest. And
Yeah.
then it gets harder because, you got the public is insatiable.
Mm.
Hey, I mean, that's what they say. Well, I put out this book. Hey, what's your next book going to be like? Duh.
Yeah.
And I finally came up with, well, I went back to my writing, all this writing that I did, and just put it in a drawer.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, something in there will, maybe click. And yeah, it finally did, but it took me a while. It took me like, a couple of months just to piece together. And what I did was, maybe this will help somebody, but it's a very individual thing. So what's good for me may not fit anybody else. But what I did was I took out all the writings I had, which is not about that that thick. Over the years, I wrote this, I wrote that. Some were fables, some were stories, some were little movie things I might do someday. And I just kind of put them in some sort of order that seemed that that's how they happened. I made up an order and whatever fit. And then you have to sew together how you got from this little story to this little story that did in a timeline, a fake timeline. Yeah, it could happen after this.
Mm,
But how did you get from here to there? That's the real writing.
right.
That's and if you got like, and I had about I would say 50 50 little writings that I had. Some are poetry. What poetry? Where do you put that in? And then so then how do you fit poetry into into a fiction? Well, that's when you have to start reading.
Yeah.
And I'm not a reader. So, and I thought, well, wait a minute. Alice in Wonderland is a big seller. It is a story, it has, but it has poetry
Hmm.
that fits the narration. And I thought, okay, so yeah, finally I got that. But then other problems come up of how to get from here to there, or how to get it. And you find out after about working on it for 4 months, there's one section of 40 pages or something. And after, a couple of months, you find out it doesn't work. After you get all the things all connected and everything, and you read it, and you go, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't. So that's what I've been dealing with. And probably that's why I got sick. I didn't get my vaccination.
Nope.
You know.
Well, we won't tell anybody.
Oh, okay. But that's all that's been going on since, I guess, how long ago was it that we did our last show?
Maybe like a year, a little more.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, most of that year from the last time we spoke to now, I've been out of the spotlight. So in other words, writing, I just dropped everything else.
Yeah.
And just living off residuals and stuff like that, and just other things. What? Social Security, whatever. I don't know. But, just getting by.
Yeah.
But now, so I finally finished the second book. I finally, but it took me a year. And I think it's pretty cool. What I did was I tried to fit everything together into one book.
Hmm.
About, well, somewhere near 300 pages. I don't know, 270 pages, 300 pages. That's about a book length. I finally got it all together. I got about 270 pages, and I read the whole thing, and and half of it turned out I had two books. Well, I gave it to a reader, somebody to just check the spelling and
An
stuff.
editor. Yeah.
The what?
Like an editor, I think they use.
Well, yeah, yeah, and then some called readers, some are editors. Yeah, there's several ones. But anyway, she said, and she's done a lot of work for a lot of my writer friends, and she said, there's three books here. In other words, you have one about a guy named Barnum Justice, and that reads right through, but intertwined with that is a thing about a boy and a girl, a homeless guy and a girl with an apartment. And he's, what is in, are you falling in love or you just want to get shelter? Well,
Right.
what's going on? And she said, does she want to get married or does she just want a friend to move in? And she says, so that's
Metaphorical.
the
Yeah.
second book. Excuse me?
Like metaphorical, like love is the
Yeah,
shelter,
yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, and where are they at?
Yeah.
And so he says that works, but it's interrupting the Barnum Justice thing. And then the third book is a book of poetry. I mean, you got a lot of poetry in here.
Yeah.
So it does work when it's used right. It does work, but it interrupts the other two stories. That's all.
Yeah.
Then I had to rip the whole thing apart and then just make it into two stories. One with like Alice in Wonderland, where it's a story with poetry, and then the other one is a boy-girl story. So it works, and so I just made it into a book of two stories. In other words, Barnum Justice and Kay and Emmett is kind of the two stories. And then if I just put that book out with two long short stories, I think they call them novellas if they're under 170 pages. So basically, it's a book of two novellas. I put them together, and I haven't come. The name of the book is going to be. It's going to come out as a Kindle book, $10.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can afford that.
I
If I
like
can
that.
afford it, you can afford it.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's really cool. So it'll come out, and the name of it is Loopholes. Uh, uh,
This one?
well,
We're from the future.
yeah, that's one of the things I put in a drawer. That never sold, but because I didn't like the price, and I
Yeah.
didn't like the cover, so I never mentioned it to anybody. I mean, it
Uh,
sells, and I get these calls from publishers saying, "Hey, we found this in the bin." If your book doesn't sell, I published that myself. So if your book doesn't sell, but they have, I didn't know this. This is really interesting. Publishers have readers who look for books that don't sell, but they're not thrown away.
Hmm.
They're they're they go to a secondary publisher's house
Yeah.
where where they hire readers to read books that didn't sell. And what there is, why didn't they?
Right.
Well, a couple of pages, they say, well, because it's a bad book. That's why. Simple. So, but sometimes I'll read a book and say, hey, this is kind of cool. We should, maybe the public, who knows why it didn't sell, but it should.
Yeah.
And so either it wasn't advertised right or wasn't advertised at all, or the cover is just bad. So nobody. And I would get calls about it, and they'd say, "Hey, we want to republish your book." And I just thought, "No, I don't. I don't. I'm finished with that. I have that guy out now. I'm sorry." So I kept, but I've got quite a few phone calls about that book. So what I did was that was one of the books that I took pieces out of, and to make the third book, which is I just call it Loopholes now.
Yeah.
Because the Loopholes dossier sounds not good. It's not a good title. Dossier
Yeah. Yeah.
is, is a bad title word. It scares
Tough to
people off.
spell.
It's too
Yeah.
factual. It's
it
too
didn't scare me. I got the book. I really love this book.
yeah. I mean, there's parts in it that are really cool. There's poetry in it. There's the fables, and there's
Oh,
the loophole.
I love the fables. Sometime Jones. I
Yeah.
I gotta say honestly, I love the character, and I could not read it without thinking of you. I
Oh,
mean,
cool. Oh, great.
and,
Okay.
and I
So
mean,
yeah.
yeah. So definitely, I had a lot of fun reading this, and
Oh, cool. See, but yeah, it's very few. It doesn't sell. I guess the people who like it, I mean, the people who read it like it. It's just that nobody buys it. It just lays there,
Yeah.
yeah.
uh, like a dead shark. Somebody said that. I don't know. So, um, but pieces of that went into the new book called just plain loopholes, and everybody liked that because as a matter of fact I was watching MSNBC this very morning,
Oh,
and they mentioned they said that Trump is now because he's dissing some judge's daughter or something. So he said the one thing about that's wrong with Trump's attempt at becoming president, his electioneering, is that he just looks for loopholes. And I go, whoa, I got to get this thing out now,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Loopholes, because that's the name of the guy, the president in the loopholes dossier. It's President Loopholes, specifically about this election.
Yeah.
So I took pieces of that, and I took pieces of sometimes Jones and sometimes Emmett, I think, was the homeless guy. But yeah, and then I made a love story and blah blah blah. So yeah, but thank you very much for that heads up for the
Yeah.
book. Wow. So I'm glad I tuned in.
Hell yeah. Well,
It's,
Mark,
yeah, both my books. That's amazing.
we're
You're
fans,
probably
man.
the
Yeah.
only, yeah, you're probably the only guy in the United States. I'm big in India for some strange reason.
We are
Hey,
too.
we're big in India also.
We just
Oh,
put
have you figured out why, or they all speak English, or you're just great?
we did our latest short film that we have in film festivals has been to 3 or 4 India film festivals. Like they're loving the film. I think it's because it's so colorful. I think they like the colorful aspect of it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine. What's it called? What's the
It's
name of it?
it's called Special Treatment, and it's about these brother clowns that like they're born with clown makeup, so they become like birthday party clowns, but they have like they were in the army and got MK Ultra done to them, so they go a little psychotic. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool. PSD and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's great. No, it sounds like a great story. I'd like
Thank
to.
you.
Where can I see it? Can I see it
I'll
somewhere?
send you a link. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do. It sounds great. How long is it?
15 minutes roughly.
Oh man. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah,
Easy. Once you get past a half hour, I have to set aside. So, but
for
15
sure.
minutes, just like watch it when I just boot up. Boom.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. But yeah, but now, was that your first, second, third? How many have you done?
We've done quite a few. Yeah, this one was our short film before it was 36 minutes. So to go with what you were just saying, that the time hurt that short because like with festivals, their shorts are like 15 minutes and then like I think anything over 45 minutes they're considering a feature
Right.
nowadays. So we were like
Yeah.
in the middle ground, so we kind of got like in
Yeah.
trouble in certain places with that, but yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, this was our COVID short where like we shot it like a week before the close down happened. And then we
Oh,
kind of
really?
we had to sit on it for like a year because nobody was getting like with the you couldn't really edit, I like to visit
Oh,
with the
right,
editor.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
it was
and
tough.
either nobody wanted to put on a mask or then everybody put on masks. It was just, yeah, as far as acting goes during COVID, um, yeah, it was really tough because a lot of times they said it's really weird how people adjust to what's going on,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the human adjustment, the human adjustment to making movies, because I mean, this city is founded on that,
Yeah.
and nobody wanted to work or could work. They were
Yeah.
either sick or they didn't. So here was the rules, and they were really strict. You had to wear a mask. So yeah, how do you make a movie and wear a mask? Okay, when the director yells or says, uh, uh, "Camera action," when they say camera action, you take off your mask and you act. And as soon as it cut, you got to put it back on.
Yeah.
And that's a weird way to work, man. I only did one movie like that, and I said I can't work this way.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. I mean, I'm not a born actor. I'm not an actor at all. I never wanted to be an actor. I can do it, and the only way that I can, explain it to people is because I'm really hardcore, not an actor. I
Yeah.
mean, I never wanted to be an actor. Is I say, well, can you play basketball? I go, yeah. See, when you play basketball, with your friends and stuff like that, yeah. Is there one person in the group that plays better than everybody else? Oh, yeah, yeah. You want him on or her on your side, you know?
Yeah.
That person doesn't want to be uh, you know, George Mikan or somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to be a basketball star. They just can play basketball well, but they just, do it with their friends. It's the same with me. I can play basketball, but I don't want to be a star. I can
Right.
act, but it never occurred to me. So for me to learn lines is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, weird in that it's hard weird. It's like, oh man, I got to memorize this. But when I was stand up, um, I was like George Carlin and Richie Pryor and Lenny Bruce
Oh,
type of humor. Hardcore marijuana, drugs, cursing, but
yeah.
funny. I was really funny. I mean, Miles Davis wanted me to tour Europe with him, and I just was afraid of Europe. Never mind Miles, but he thought I was really funny, man.
Yeah.
Which made me proud because he's one of my heroes. He's a
Yeah.
cool guy. So, but I couldn't take the blowback. I was being pulled off the stage by police, and that's not fun, man.
Yeah.
A lot of police. I mean, all the time. And then people would come at me with beer bottles. Get the fuck off the stage, man. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, and and then now, I mean, you have to have that material to get on television.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I
For that
mean,
children's show.
so it's blowing my mind. I'm trying to remember my old stuff.
Yeah.
I
I've always been I hear the stories of like the police were pulling people off the stage and stuff. Are they legitimately angry, or are they just doing their job in situations like that? What do you think?
What, the police or the
Yeah, like when
people?
they're pulling you off of a stage for your content, are they? I could see them not really
No,
wanting to
they are
do it.
doing their job,
Yeah,
and their job is to act angry. No, they once they get me off the stage, they go, "Oh, okay, just they're like fathers. Okay,
yeah,
don't go back out there. We're gonna have to come back. Okay, right, okay, and then they split. But on stage, all right, let's go, man. Boom. And so after a while, I got so used to it, I would wait I'd see them coming, and I go, okay, that's it, all right, and I would just stand there and wait. In Washington D.C., no, Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, I was doing Washington University, so it was like a 2,000 seat theater, and I was opening. I toured with a lot of rock bands, but this one was with the Love and Spoonful. So
yes,
it's the whole United States thing. And so when we got there, yeah, the dean, because you have clean stuff, you know, over the top stuff, blah blah blah. I mean, I didn't formulate it into sections or anything. I just wove in and out of a story
mm,
that I saw. It was all reality based humor, and um, so I was doing the funny stuff, and I was getting big laughs. That's what I was paid to do. I mean, 11 Spoonful asked for me to open for them, so they had seen me, so they knew what they were getting, and they thought it would be really cool. I later found out that one of the reasons they asked me was just because police pulled me off the stage, and they wanted a riot for publicity.
yeah,
So they get Hankin out there, he'll cause a riot, the police will come, and they'll make the papers,
yeah,
and then they're there for like 2 nights. So the first night, and then the papers, and then the second night, they're packed, you know. Well, it didn't happen that way. Uh, but I'll tell you, I got into the dirty stuff, but first the audience, it was a packed audience, for Love and Spoonful, not for me. I didn't know who I was. Uh, it was a packed house, 2,000 people, all students, all students. And I was doing it and going along fine, funny, funny. And I could look into the wings. It was a theater, and there was the Love and Spoonful, all four of them, just standing there laughing, watching me. And I guess waiting for it got to the dirty stuff.
yeah,
Oh boy, man, this is going to be great. And sure enough, I get into dirty stuff, and the laughter went down, and they go, "Whoa!" The audience, you can feel it. I mean, if you worked long enough, man, you can feel it.
yeah,
Room changed, and they got quiet. And then they started yelling up at you, do the funny stuff, do the funny stuff. I mean, it's like out of a Woody Allen movie, do the funny stuff. And I think, what the? It's weird. They were laughing and now they're not. I made no difference.
Yeah.
I just talked. And then, now I didn't know this, but the dean had heard about me. I don't know how, maybe, the other concerts that we did, but he was in the back. I didn't know. And when I started doing the off color stuff,
Yeah.
uh, he called the police immediately. He just said, get down here. We got to, that's what they called me. That was what I was dubbed. We've got a filthy comedian in the house, and we need to police down here right away. And they came, 20 policemen. And they thought, that maybe there's going to be a riot or I was killing people on the stage. I mean, they were ready for action. But I didn't know this. I was just so finally I said, okay, I'll I'll do the funny stuff. What the heck? But I spoke to them. I sort of say, hey, well, what's going on? Do the funny stuff. I said, okay, I'll do the funny stuff. I mean, what's the big deal? Okay. So I did the funny stuff. That's when the police arrived. And the dean said, okay, stop. Wait, he's doing funny stuff. So now the cops didn't know what I was doing. They just see I'm doing funny stuff. So they waited in the back, all 20 of them. I couldn't see them. And then when I got a really big laugh out of the funny stuff, I said, okay, let me get back to the other stuff. And I went back to where I left off when I stopped. Now, this is where the cops took me off the stage. And this is what I
Yeah.
was saying. This is how ridiculous it was. I said, okay, let's get back to religion. And they go, oh, you could hear the audience go, oh man, no, no. And you could hear me go, no, don't, no, funny. And I just kept on going. And I said, okay. And I don't remember the whole routine, but I did remember saying, okay, so I'm God. And they go, and that shut them up. You could hear like 2,000 sphincters snap shut, and then I said, okay, and here's a little man, a little human being. And I was talking into him, a stand-up microphone, so the microphone's like this. So I put the little man on top of the microphone and I'm talking to him, so, and I'm God, and they're going, no, no, no. And I'm saying, okay, where's your clothing? Where's your clothing, little guy? And hey, what's that between your legs? Boom, you just see cops coming down the wall aisle, to 10 on each aisle. And I see that. And I go, oh, all right, fine. Now there was one other thing. When I stopped the first time and they said, okay, I'll do the clean stuff, I did holler at them and they did listen. And that was really weird. They say, no, and I stopped. I said, okay. I won't do the best, but I said, you are all students. And I don't know what year this is, maybe in the late 60s, early 70s. So it was going around and Richie Pryor was going and George Carlin was going. So I stopped and the first thing I said was, what are you booing and stopping about? I hollered at them. And they just like, shut up.
Yeah.
And I said, you all are students. You should be smoking marijuana and doing all this stuff. What's wrong with you? Are you afraid? And they were speechless, man.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, wow, this is more fun than doing comedy. Hollering at 2,000 students.
Yeah.
I'm really, but I'm serious. I wasn't pretending. I was angry that they stopped my show in the middle. And then finally they just sat there silently. They said, okay. And that's when I went back to, what's that between your legs? And then the riot started. That's when they go, no, 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 boo, bring on the love and spoonful. See, that's the tipping point when they say bring on the next act as opposed to do the funny stuff. They said, bring on the loving spoonful, and I couldn't talk. So I said, all right, I'll do the clean stuff. And that calmed them down. And I did the clean stuff. The cops showed up. Okay. So the end of the story, that's the end of the story. But when we went to the next one, which was in Wisconsin, some university there, when we got off the plane, it was just this was it five, four, five, six, seven of us. Two of their managers. They had two managers, four of them and me. That was it. When we arrived at the university, we checked into the hotel, and that was fine. Everything was fine. And as we're walking, the seven of us were walking to the elevators. Uh, Three people, three men, three individuals, three gentlemen actually, stopped us in front of the elevators. Said, "Excuse me, is there a Larry Hankin in the group?" And immediately, I guess the managers were ready for this after St. Louis. They immediately turned to us. We stopped, and they turned to us in between, the three guys. One was a policeman, like a captain, police captain, had this thing. And the second was a priest in full regalia, white collar. And the third was a gentleman with gray hair, like me now. And he was dressed in a suit. And it turned out that that was the dean of the college. And the three of them said, "Is there Larry Hankin?" The two managers turned and said, they pointed, like, so they couldn't see who they were. They were pointing to. They were pointing to. They were pointing to me, but they hid it from them. And they said very quietly, they said, "Go up to Larry's room, lock the door, and don't let anybody in except us. Okay, go." And we just turned, rang for the elevator, and they started immediately talking to the police and the three guys. So we go up to the room, we lock the door, and now we're wondering what happens next. So Love Spoonful says, "You got to do your act." I mean, because they were. I said, "No, man, I'm not going to do this." I mean, they had a priest and a cop down there.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? I mean, no, this is my career. This is my career, not yours. Yeah, you're gonna have a riot and you're gonna be packed tomorrow night. No, I mean, they said, "No, man, you got to do it. We want the riot. We want the riot." And they said, "You're chicken shit." And they started dissing me now, and say, "Oh man, you're chicken, and why don't you do it? You got to do it, man. You got to do it." And they kept on, and suddenly it sounded like great. It's like, wait a minute, riot isn't bad. I mean, I'm on the stage, I'm safe. I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." I wanted them to like me. I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." Oh man, this is going to be, I know it's going to happen, because St. Louis is the last place. So we open, I come out on the stage and blah, 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 blah. And then I say, "Okay, now here's the God thing and what's between your legs." And I open up, the Pandora's box of bad, bad words. And they just laughed all the way through it. And the dean had come and was standing in the back, and it was just like any other concert or any other nightclub. I mean, it was all students, and just boom. And the Loving Spoonful were kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
They really, "Oh man, okay, but hey, great, thanks a lot, Larry." And then so we finished the tour, and it never happened again. But it was all on the north. We never went back south. Started in the south and went back north and down. So yeah, I mean, and I think part of that might be in the book. I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, that was why I stopped doing stand up. I mean, I can't take the heat. Yeah, because I went back to nightclubs after that. And that's when the guy with the beer bottle came at me, because now I was just on the same floor as him. And, there was a dance floor, and then there was the customers. And he hollered from the darkness because, lights are in your eyes, you can't see. He said, "Get off the stage." No. Get off the stage. I was opening for the Kingston Trio. He says, "Get off the stage." And I'm going, "Oh, I don't have to." And I just kept on going. And this isn't the college. This isn't 2,000 people. This is one guy.
Yeah.
And I was getting laughs. I said, "Get off the fucking stage." I go, so I stopped and I say, "Yeah, yeah, give me 10 more. I said to him. I said, "Okay, just let me finish, okay?" And then I see this guy. He's like a Starker. And he's got a beer bottle upside down in his hand. And I said, "Get off the stage, man, and bring on the Kingston Trio." And he's coming right at me. And I just, he goes like this. And he's standing there all alone with a beer bottle. And I sat down at the bar, just very quietly. And he's standing there, and he looks around, and he just walks back into the darkness. And the bartender comes over to me, and he says, "Get back out there, man. The Kingston, you got 10 more minutes to go." And I said, "I'm not getting that. Did you see that guy come out with a beer bottle?" He said, "Yeah, get back out there. You got 10 more minutes. And the Kingston Trio's coming out." I said, "I'm not getting out there until you kick that guy out or tell him to shut up or take the beer bottle out of his hands.
Yeah.
But shut him up." And he says, "No, you signed on to do 20 minutes. You got 10 more minutes to go. You either get out there right now or you're fired." And I say, "I'm not getting out there." And unless you take care of that guy. And he says, "Then you're fired." And I say, "Where's the bouncer?" And he says, "I'm the bouncer. I'm the bartender. You're fired." And I said, "No, I'm not. I quit." And I walked out, and it was Boston. It was Lenny's on the highway. And I'll never forget that. And I walk out into a Boston snowstorm.
Yeah.
And I wasn't dressed for that. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew it was cold and I'm going up north. And where I left, New York, it had snowed, but it had stopped. And so I'm trying to flag down a taxi in the middle of a snowstorm. And what I had to do was go back into the nightclub and I said, "Can I use your phone to call a cab?" Which was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And the bartender just looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, okay." And he puts, it was phones then,
Yeah. Yeah. Rotary phones.
yeah, rotary phones. And he just puts the phone on the bartender, on the bar. And I said, "Thanks." And I walk outside. And I waited outside. And luckily it was, well, it doesn't matter. I got in the cab. I said, "Take me to the airport." And luckily I was near the airport. So that's when I called my agent. I said, "Okay, it's over. I don't care about Lenny or Richie or George. I can't take it. I don't have the money for the lawyers." And that's what drove Lenny to the heavy stuff,
Yeah.
uh, heavier stuff. And that's what Richie Pryor and George Carlin had, was money and lawyers. And that's what kept them going. They had lawyers and people who backed them. I had nobody. I was an afterthought of those two guys, those three guys. I was just another one. And we'll get this fixed with these three guys. So I that's when I went into improv,
Yeah.
which Second City, and then I could have done the rest of my life, but um, Alan Meyerson came through and he wanted to do a Second City improv in San Francisco. So I went with them and I was there for 10 years. Just improv. I could have been there today.
Yeah.
It was, improv is great because you don't have to memorize any lines. You just, I mean, you do the same thing. After a while, you solidify this, you re-improvise it and re-improvise it, try this, forget that ending, just go for a different ending. Or start with or put in a different person, or Larry, get in there and mix it up a little,
Yeah.
break it. Uh, and so that was fun because you never had to memorize anything. You just walked in off the street and you were in show business.
Yeah.
We owned our own theater. They had, Alan Meyerson bought the theater for us. So weren't making much money, but at least we owned the place and we set the rules. And
Yeah.
we could go as deep or as light as we wanted. Didn't matter. So that's okay. I've now bared my soul to you two guys. I mean,
In a in a situation with like that beer bottle thing, how long does that take for you to shake? I know that you kind of got out of comedy a little bit after that, but even when you're on the theater, it's like that always be in the back of your head that somebody could, if they didn't like what you're doing, they could just step right up
well,
there and touch you, so to speak.
that's really it's very acute of you in that my manager brought that very thing up.
Yeah.
And when he said, I called, now that happened in St. Louis. Oh, the beer bottle, the Lenny thing. Well, yeah, when I called, I called my manager. By the way, my manager was Jack Rollins, who was Woody Allen's manager. I
Okay.
mean, so that's why I was getting all these gigs. I mean, he thought, and this is what he said to me, Jack Rollins. I called him. I said, "Look, I can't do this, man. There's Lenny on the highway. I mean, a guy came at me with a beer bottle. It's over. I mean, I got 10 cops in St. Louis. I was okay in Wisconsin, and then I go back to nightclubs, and the guy comes at me with a beer bottle. I can't do it. I can't. I just can't. Can you change the venues or whatever?" He said, "All right, Larry, why don't you just leave that alone, move on. And why don't you join Second City? They own in Chicago. They own the theater, and you can say whatever you want because it's improv and they own the theater. They'll throw the guy out, not you." And then he says, "Re what you just said. Re their stage, the improv theater stage, is at least 3 feet high, which it was. It was 3 feet high, maybe a little more."
Yeah.
He said, "So the guy with the beer bottle will have to climb up on the stage, which gives you time to get away. Besides, you got 4 other people improvising with you, and he's going to have to deal with 5 people. I don't think it's going to happen in any way they throw him out." So
Yeah.
he covered the whole thing. So that's in one sentence, in one blob. So I said, okay. That's when I went to oh, and then at the same time, luckily, Second City in Chicago was holding auditions in New York, where I had gone and tried to, I went back to coffee houses, start all over, because that was the only thing I knew what to do. So I went back and I auditioned for Second City. I auditioned with Robin Williams.
Oh, very
Me
cool.
and Robin auditioned together. I mean, I didn't know he was Robin Williams. He didn't know I was Larry Hankin. He wasn't Robin Williams for years before, but he got in, and I got in, and we both went to separate. They were opening up um, theaters, Second City, they were going wide. They were opening one in the Crystal Palace in St. Louis. I was sent there. I thought I would be sent to Chicago, where the big, that was the big theater. That was the
Yeah.
main house. They had, their crowds every night. But no, and it was a nightclub, and but it was a nightclub. So and it was improv, and we were booked for 3 months. So no matter, we were going to get paid for 3 months. But we did really well, and we were held over for a year. So we had lines around the block. We were really cool, and we loved it. And then Paul Sills, who owned Second City, and Viola Spolin, who was his mom, and she ran the school. They had a school for improv up there.
Hmm.
And I had to go to that school for about 2 months before they sent me to St. Louis. So yeah, and this is St. Louis where Washington University
Yeah.
was. So
Yeah.
I didn't. Oh man, yeah, that was kind of scary. But no, it was a nightclub again, like they owned the property, so no cops. Uh, I mean, we even performed for the most what conservative group I think anybody ever performed for, especially if they weren't conservative, was the entire Daughters of the Blue Goose. They were the most conservative, they were like a Texas, you
Okay.
know, club of little old ladies with white or purple hair. So, and we sold out for 2 weeks. You did just on the same night. In other words, twice.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was a Friday night, and they bought out the whole theater. And so we had to perform, and they were cool. I mean, some didn't like it, and they complained. They say, they're not speaking, the right words. I don't know how they said it to the, uh, but and you know who owned it was I can't remember them, but they were very famous um, jazz uh, musical writers, songwriters, and they had their songs on the hit parade. Lambert, somebody, and Ross. They
Okay.
sang a lot of their songs. So they also owned. So in other words, they were as far out as you know, like Coltrane was playing their stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, singing there and very, uh, you know, jazz, uh, kind of jazz singers were singing their songs, and then Daughters of the Blue Goose were listening to us, who. So that was the weirdest. But we were held over for a year, and then Paul Sills came down. He said, "What the hell is going on down there? You're held over for 7, 8, 9 months. That's crazy." So he said, so he came down. We were there on our own, uh, called Second City, but nobody from Chicago came down to see us.
Hmm.
We were on our own for a year, and but Second City was getting the money. We were just paid salaries. But he came down after 9 months or a year, just to see the show. This just to see how are we good? Are we bad? What's going on? And then he hired two of us. He said Hankin and Jack Burns, who
Okay.
Jack Burns.
Yeah, Jack Burns. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, yeah. I've heard of Jack Burns.
Oh yeah, he was what was it? That Hee Haw.
Yeah.
He invented Hee Haw. He was the guy when he left. But I can talk about him because he's passed on many, many years ago. But
Yeah.
we were roommates in Second City in Chicago, in St. Louis, and he was never. He would get tipsy, or he'd have a couple of drinks before the show. Very funny guy, different humor. He had to have things memorized. Like we called it your rubber chicken. He had his rubber chicken. The rubber chicken is if you're dying, pull out a rubber chicken. It always gets a laugh.
Yeah.
So that's what stand up, that's the thing. And he had many, many rubber chickens, whereas I don't care. I loved improvising, but he had a backup, these rubber chickens. Okay. So I think maybe because he drank before the show, so he needed the little, crutch. But when he was my roommate, when the show was over, like on Saturdays and Sundays, man, he'd get crocked, man,
Yeah.
to the point where he'd get violent and he'd start fights. Now, he never attacked me. I mean, he would attack me verbally, say, fuck you, and blah, 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 and I don't care. But he would start wrecking the apartment. Actually, he tipped over a full refrigerator. What the, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, so that was an experience I never talked about until many years after he passed on. But yeah, that was a trip in itself. I mean, so my life basically was show business stories. I mean, my life was show business, and
Yeah.
those kind of things, kind of interesting stuff. So it was kind of a relief to write a book like that guy, put it all down and move on.
Yeah.
There was three stages: the stand up, the improv, the acting, finish, and then writing. So it was kind of a nice flow going from one to the other. and then, trying to learn the new shtick, the new rules, because each has its own way of being successful. Yeah. So that's my life. Basically, there it is.
Hell
The,
yeah.
the,
You keep a journal at all? I know some people say that it's good that even if you're just writing down what you ate that day and stuff like that, that like they say that,
I'm more and more beginning to think that way.
yeah.
No, but see now, well, I finished the second book. I just got to get it, all together and sent to a publisher. Uh, so it was very difficult. It took me a year easy to write it, getting it all straight, and also learning the rules. Memoirs have no rules, really. I mean, if you read two or three memoirs, you kind of get it.
Hmm.
You get the arc of in other words, you just take your life and make an arc out of it,
Yeah.
and you arrange it so that you suck the person in to reading you want to write the first 10 pages, got to bring you in. But then, you start with some sort of going up and then some tragedy or something, or I mean, not even a tragedy, but something that'll pull you down where you have to get back up.
Yeah.
And each time you pull yourself down further and get back up further. I mean, it's just that. Now, that's nonfiction. You can do that with a novel, nonfiction thing, but there's got to be more to it. There's
Mhm.
got to be backstories to every character. And when you're writing a memoir, every character has a backstory. It's the person you live, like Jack Burns. That's the character of Jack Burns, one of the people. Martin Levat was another person. I know Martin, or I knew Martin. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I worked with them, so that was the backstory. And then, so you don't have to work as hard for a memoir,
Yeah.
but also that's the easiest to write and the least saleable because it's so popular. Because anybody can do it because it's
Yeah.
your own life. You don't have to have a lawyer. You don't have to make sure that what you're talking about is true. See, if you call it a memoir, that's another thing. Here's the thing: 80% of all books sold all over the world, which is in the billions, right? I mean, it's a lot of books, man.
Yeah.
80% are read and bought by women. Wow, man. So if you're a male and trying to write a book, unless, you're in politics, where you're on television every day, they're voting for you every day, once every 4 years or once a year or every
They're
2 years.
rooting for you every day.
Whatever.
They're rooting for you.
Yeah, yeah. So you and they want to, and they're curious about you. Like if you're president, they're curious about your backstory. So the memoir thing is easy to write because you don't need a lawyer. You don't have, and here's the rule for memoirs. If it comes from you and it's real, if it's true, if I know for a fact that your I don't know what would be bad. You're a killer. You're really a killer.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
Right. If I just go blabbing that around, you can sue me.
Right.
But if I write in my memoir that I once knew a guy and I named you and I said, and he's killed people, you can't touch me
Hmm.
because I can say, I'm just making that up. It's in a book and it's a memoir. So in other words, if it comes from my memory, the law covers that. It's well, memories can be wrong. A lot of time, I remember it wrong.
Hmm.
So all I have to say is, you're going to sue me. Hey, I'm not a killer. And then I can say, well, it's in your book. I say, oh well, I misremember. I thought it was you. It must be somebody else. That is a legal thing to write a memoir. It covers memory.
Interesting.
But if I write it and it's nonfiction, then I am slurring you.
Yeah.
I'm making it hard for you to get a job, and I can't prove, because it's nonfiction, that you are. Because if I could prove it, then you can't sue me. You wouldn't sue me. because the cops would then bust you.
Yeah.
So if it's nonfiction, I don't have to worry. If it's nonfiction, I have to worry about that. So I have to get a lawyer and I have to do research. And if I can't prove it that you're a killer, you can sue my ass. You could until for centuries.
Yeah. That
So that's why memoirs are very popular. It's you don't need a lawyer.
that
But a nonfiction, you have to make up backstories for every character, even if it's a small backstory. It's like painting. You have to use the entire canvas. Even if you leave this canvas blank, this part of the canvas, it has to be part of the painting. You
hmm,
can't say, well, no, that's part of the painting. Well, I mean, that's art. It will lessen its sellability. I
yeah.
mean, you can't sue it. I can say, no, I meant it to be blank. All right. It's like a memoir. It's from my mind. Uh, so um, I don't know what the question was or
That's
what I
very
want to.
well. A comment that's very. I feel like I didn't know that. That's very interesting to hear about the memoir. It kind of lines up with current events because, like in the media right now, there's something going on with Rebel Wilson accusing Sacha Baron Cohen of like wanting her to stick his finger up his butt for like the Brother Grimsley film. Yeah, she put it in her.
Wow.
She put it in her book, and it's a memoir. And I was wondering, I'm like, how can you just say? And he came out and said, "Oh, it's all lies. I have proof of it." He actually released footage of like B-roll of it being like an improv. And I was like, how can she not get in trouble with that? But what you just said right there is how she can't get in trouble. That's
It's
interesting.
a memoir. It's all you have to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has to have some semblance of a memory.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
write a nonfiction book, you know,
Yeah.
and about uh, about dogs and hunting.
Yeah.
But it's nonfiction. I mean, you made up the story, and you accuse somebody of doing something like that. Well, yeah, you're dead. They can sue you
Yeah.
for everything. Just call it a memoir.
Exactly.
But then it won't sell
True.
because yeah, people because a memoir, I think, a memoir is aimed at, even if you didn't mean it to be aimed at, people who buy memoirs. Let me put it that way. People who buy memoirs are looking to find out about a certain person, the person that the memoir is about. So anybody who's looking for nonfiction or stories is not interested in memoir because it's like a one note, you know, what's
Yeah.
that thing? A one
One
note,
trick pony type thing. Like a one
yeah,
trick pony.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
So, uh, and so I'm doing a nonfiction because I want to sell a lot more books.
Yeah.
And I'm also learning how to write a novel. I mean, there's certain steps. And I just went into it like it was a memoir. Like I just started writing the book.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you hit a wall that you cannot penetrate or go around. So you got to go back to the beginning and build it like you're writing a nonfiction book. First, you got to get why you're writing the book. Now, why you're writing a memoir? Because I like me and I think I can sell books.
Yeah.
But to write a nonfiction, there has to be a why. Why are you writing this book? Yeah. Well, I'm against politics. I'm into hunting. I don't like the way blah 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 is. You have to have um, a high horse to get on.
Yeah.
And even if it's simplistic, you know, why people have babies. But it's a no, it's a couple trying to have a baby. Nonfiction, you make it up.
Yeah.
A couple who can't have. Well, you have to have a backstory for him. You have to have a backstory for the woman. You have to have a backstory for everybody, all the doctors that they go to. You know, or if you don't have a backstory, then why is it in the book? In
Right.
other words, there are rules. If it's in the book, it's important. If it's important, you got to have a backstory. So you haven't even started writing yet, you
Yeah.
know. And now the only opposite I can find is Slaughterhouse-Five. You're familiar with that book?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Slaughterhouse-Five is a memoir, really,
Hmm.
but he couldn't bring himself to write about it. It was too harsh a memory. It was, him in Second World War, and he was there under the bombing of Dresden, and he lived through it. And he even says in the book, this is a terrible memory.
Yeah.
I can't. So what he did was he made up characters. Now, everything he said in the book that he needed to say that, no, this is how it was. This is real. This is what I'm talking about. He made up other characters and he combined other real people into one person, so that became a fake thing. So when you read it, he keeps on interrupting. And it's a way to write a nonfiction. He keeps on interrupting the narrative and just busts through with Kurt Vonnegut. And he says,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was there and I saw that. And then he goes like that. And then he goes back to Pilgrim, which is him, but it's not me,
Yeah.
you know. And that's who you follow. And then he does it 3 times. And he just goes, and his feet were all, or Pilgrim describes the horror. And in the middle of that, or right before it, he says, no, Pilgrim saw this and so did I. And then he goes, and you go, where did that come from? I mean, he doesn't say, this is me, Kurt.
Right.
No, he goes, he just in the middle of a sentence, he says, yeah, I saw this too. That's all. And you have to assume, oh, that's Kurt talking.
Mm.
Yeah. And in the beginning, he makes up a little story that goes into Slaughterhouse-Five. So he starts with a little kind of made up thing. So it's a nonfiction. And then all of a sudden it becomes real.
Yeah.
And he pokes through. And then he goes on. And that's the only one where the writer, used memoir as fiction. Yeah, and that's hard to do. I mean, I read that. I'm on the third reading now.
Yeah.
It just keeps on getting more and harder to absorb. What is he doing? You have to be an expert at, screwing around with the reader.
Mm.
Is this real? Is this fake? Is this Vonnegut? Is where are we now? And then he screws around with your times. Sometimes you're going along, you're in the war, and then you're on a planet, Tralfamador, in the future. And he says, I don't, and Pilgrim is speaking, and he says, yeah, I really don't like being here, because he describes people the entities that are on Tralfamador is very different. They're not like human.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to go home, but I'm 600 million billion miles from home. And so how did I get here? I mean, it's just boom, like that.
Yeah.
But he gets you there. And it's not like, what's going on? I never did that. I said, yeah, I'm now 600 million billion miles from home. And he's talking to these. It's just, and he keeps you reading. You want to turn the page. Wow, man, this is great. And it gets more horrible and more real,
Yeah.
until finally he gets to Dresden, and holy cow. And then I'm sure he made this up from a couple of people. He has a friend who's not really his friend. It's just, but this friend is keeping him alive. I mean, he just wants to quit. Pilgrim wants to quit. I just want to die. I can't take it. And this guy, just out of spite, keeps on saying, keep walking, and punching him. And he can't go on, and he falls. Guy kicks him, get up, you're not dying. Wow, man, but,
Powerful. Yeah.
and a good writer,
Oh, for sure. Master. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But, and in other words, improv, it went in and I learned. And then acting, I could be a good basketball player, but I could be better. And they trained me to be better. And if I wasn't better, you didn't get the job. So there was an impetus. You got to get the job because you got to pay the rent. It's not that I'm dying to be an actor. It's I'm dying to pay the rent.
Right.
That was my impetus. But then when I got to writing a book, well, the first one was a memoir, like I say, but the second one, and now the third one, was really hard, really hard.
What do
Um,
you, what do you think makes it so harder as it goes on? Because you would assume that it would get easier, but what do you think is the part that makes it harder? The looking, trying to pull in different new ideas, or what do you?
well, because the learning part
Yeah,
um, is up to you totally. It's one of the few, to me, standalone art forms, and the other one is painter. You can do it in your home privately.
yeah,
You are the artist. You are the writer. You are the painter. You don't need an audience. What you want to do is appeal to an audience so you can make the rent, but you can do it alone. Actors need a stage.
mm,
You can't act alone. First of all, if you want to do monologues, which I get a lot of as an actor, which is even harder because of long memorization, uh, is you have to learn, you have to act with somebody and you have to have a stage and an audience. You can't just act in your own apartment and think you're getting away with anything.
right,
Uh, but those are the only two I can come up with. Okay, so why is it so hard?
yeah,
Uh, Even barring those three things, that's a necessity. You can do it alone. But in both instances, you can go to a school to learn to write. The act of writing is is an extremely personal thing. It goes from here to there, and that's the extent of it. So the stage is, from your brain to your typewriter or your pad and pencil,
yeah,
and then it's over. And then you can, you know, uh, learn how to do it better by have readers again, page to brain. Again that so there's and you have to read a lot of books to get the gist of it. See, a memoir, no, you don't have to read a lot of books. An artist, you can be an artist alone, but maybe go to a lot of museums. You can teach yourself. Go to museum after museum. Maybe you're inclined to be an artist, a painter. But go to a museums. You can do it by yourself. Um, with books, you really have to. I didn't start to learn how to write this third book, this Loopholes, until I read at least 10 major hits, some twice, you
yeah,
know. Now I didn't have to, I read at least 10, and I'm not a reader. I'm dyslexic, so it's hard for me to read, but I, man, as I started to read, I thought, wow, this is great. Why haven't they been reading? Well, I guess when I was a little kid, 15 and younger, I read everything I could get the hands on because there was only black and white TV. There was no cell phones. There was no internet. There was dictionaries in my house, encyclopedias, and you know the best writers of the last century. My parents just bought books for the shelves, so when company came,
yeah,
it was for show.
yeah, yeah,
So the entire encyclopedias and the best writers, where they all had the same cover and they were embossed in gold, the name like
yeah,
Jonathan Swift and Dante and well, I don't know all that. But when I started to
Hemingway,
go to school and doing homework, it started to die off. There was too much reading, and it was painful to learn school, so I stopped reading the good stuff,
yeah,
and it stuck with me, unfortunately, because those are the growing years, and you start to get habits solidified, and reading was painful to me. I mean, that was the thought. That was the lock in.
Yeah.
Don't read stuff. It's just rules and tickets,
Yeah.
payments, and mortgages and whatever.
Yeah.
So I stopped reading and I turned everything over to, lawyers and blah, blah, blah. And it was the worst thing. That was the worst self-teaching ever for me, stopping reading the greats. I mean, I did when I was 15, I was reading stuff, adults read
Yeah.
because it was in the house and there was nothing else to read except DC Comics and Mad Magazine. You
That's
know,
not too bad. Yeah.
not bad
Yeah.
actually. So that's what fed the humor, you know, uh, and yeah, all those. Now I can't remember unless I sit down and remember. But my parents had the entire, you know, all the best writers of the 20th century or the 19th century or whatever. And I would just now I wouldn't read all the books.
Yeah.
I would just read passages from all the books. I'd read like half of the book, half of the novel, or I'd read 20 pages of the novel, or maybe I'd just read a paragraph of the novel. But I got through all the books and all the encyclopedias because that's all there was. And I never saw my parents read ever. They went to PTA meetings, they went to Knights of Pythias meetings, they went to B'nai B'rith meetings, but nothing that I could use.
Right. Right.
Nothing, nothing they could pass on.
Yeah.
Now, my sister, who was 5 years younger than me, she did all the stations of the cross of a good child. She got married, she had children, she whatever was good and a good child. And now she's quite a successful young lady. Well, not a young lady anymore, but
Yeah.
she's a successful person in life. And I admire her. I mean, I like her too, and I love her, but I also look up to her. I think she's one of the ones.
Yeah.
But I could never do her life. I say, wow, you know, she's doing it, and she got through a divorce and she raised two children, half by herself. Um, and I visited her. She lives in Florida, and she's got a great life. And according to me, she's got a wow. I wish I had that life, but I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Once I start to actually get into it, I start to back off. I don't know. It looks great,
Yeah.
but or maybe you look at a great painting like the Mona Lisa and you say, wow, that's great, and then you try to do it. No, I forget
Yeah.
it.
Like the grass is
uh,
always greener type deal.
Mhm.
You know what I
so
mean?
say that again.
Like the grass is always greener on
Oh
the
yeah,
other side type vibe.
exactly right. But no, I mean, I certainly like my life. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a fascinating life,
Oh yeah.
and I have stories. That's what old people have, stories. They have stories, man. My grandfather, used to tell me great stories about the old days. He was an oil burner man.
Oh
He
yeah.
installed oil burners. It was when they were oil burners, when there was nothing, when there wasn't even phones,
Yeah.
there was slivers and Model Ts. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, and I kind of think, when I was growing up, all the old days, they were old. They were
Mm.
old. I'm glad I got through it, and I'm now in the new days.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm in the newer days, and I'm looking back and thinking, the old days were not so bad. The Model Ts. I mean, you had time. Your life was run by the sun. I mean, the Egyptians had something going, man. And now we're getting our electricity from the sun. We're back to Egypt.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the rest. They didn't have how do you get it into power? But the sun, there's something about the sun, these old Egyptians.
Yeah.
The, the pharaohs knew what was happening. They just couldn't convert it. They couldn't turn the corner, you know?
Yeah.
But they had the right idea. That's what I'm saying. And look what they did. A pyramid. You can see the pyramid from the moon.
Mm,
Cool.
that is
Now,
cool.
I didn't talk to the astronauts, but they did. In an interview they did. They said no. Well, there's two things you can see from the moon. Man-made. No, that's the thing. No, what I'm saying is there's only two things on Earth that you can see that are man-made. What are they?
Pyramids.
Well, yeah, you're
That's
cheating.
one.
Okay, I'll let
I,
you get away.
I'm a listener. You know what I mean? And then,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but now I didn't mention it, and um it's really hard. I mean, it's
Grand,
obvious and
Grand
it's
Canyon.
simple, and
Well,
you go,
actually,
"Oh, of course," but it's really hard to come up with. And my
man-made.
Wall
father
of
came up
China.
with another one.
Oh,
My father came up with a third one I've never seen, and it's true to this day, and I still haven't seen anybody, blah blah blah, name it. So I'll give you just the one. There's two, and you named one. What's the other one? And,
uh,
and
Alex said the Great Wall of China.
Wall of
Maybe
China.
that's it, man. Excellent. You came up with it?
team
Yeah.
effort. He
Do
did. Look at that. I
you
got
know
one and he got
why?
one.
Okay. Now, so you covered it. You guys are great. You're
Hey,
amazing. Nobody else has, except my father who came up with a third one, and I hated my father, but to this day, I'll give him his props.
yeah.
He came up with it, and he didn't even think about it. I said, name the two, because that was the time when the astronauts had said it. I heard it on the TV in black and white or whenever it was. And I came running into my father because I wanted to stump him. I was a young kid and I wanted to stump my dad. And I ran into the other room. He was there and he was reading the newspaper. He's just totally relaxed. He's reading the newspaper. And I ran and I said, "Hey, Dad, okay, what are the two things you can see from the moon that are man-made?" And he goes, "Smog." And I go, "No, but I think you're right." And then I asked somebody who could do that, like who was an astronaut helper, or some of the somebody on the ground who connected to them, and it's in their report that at some point, at some time during the year, over China, there is one they assume would be a city underneath it, that you could see the smog
Hmm.
in China. So it's now it's obvious smog. To me, that's obvious because you can see it and anybody can picture it. It's smog and it's real. But the pyramid and the Great Wall of China, you can't actually see them. What you see is on this flat desert and the hot sun, you see the shadow. You
Hmm.
can see it's the only triangular shadow for hundreds of miles around. And the same thing with the Great Wall of China. You can see on the you can't actually see the wall, but in this mountainous region where the Wall of China is, they can focus on that area. And mountains cast shadow too. But on the top, along the top of one mountain, you see a very specific, what do you call it? Accurate snaking line that's perfect. And perfection, mathematically, doesn't exist in nature except for a ball.
Hmm.
Planet, it's round. That's the only one. Everything else, anything with mathematically like that, you only can see the shadow of it, and the only thing big enough is um, the Great Wall of China and the pyramid. The smog is real, and you can see the reality. The other two are shadows, but
Hmm.
that's it. But the other ridiculous reality to all that is the Great Wall of China and the pyramids are ancient.
Mm.
There is nothing that modern man, except finally smog.
We
And
made
in
it.
between the Great Wall of China and smog, that's best we can come up with. We're
Yeah,
like 2,000 years beyond Christ.
yeah,
I mean, we are 300,000 years on this planet. And the best we can come up with now is smog.
yeah.
Get a life, humans.
I think that sums up our society right now so much.
On the
I'm,
planet.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, and the smog is killing the other half.
yeah.
The
yeah,
starving, the ones who need clean air the most. I'm thinking, holy cow. I mean, they're being starved to death. And the next thing to go is oxygen. Holy cow. I mean, mercury's in the water. So water, just water, plain water. What do you call it? Potable water. That's now very hard to come by. And there are some parts of the planet that have no potable water. So whoever is living there, um, emaciated people, emaciated humans, Homo sapiens, who are the least. The next thing to get, they can't get water. They have to walk miles to get it. Is the air they breathe, and that we're having problems with now. You know, not for us. We're cool for a little while.
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things I bring up in the fiction book. I mean, I lean on that. I mean, that's a big thing for me. Is this planet is verschimmelt is the best thing I can say.
Yeah,
It's doomed. I mean, I mean, yeah, sure. So we're getting spaceships out there. So, okay, so we're gonna, the nearest planet, I think, habitable planet, even not habitable planet, just the nearest planet, it takes 3 years to get to, I don't know, Mars or something. But to get outside, and we're the only one that's habitable. The next best nearest one is, light years away. So yeah, we're going to load up what? I don't know.
40
100,
people maybe, if you're
yeah,
lucky.
20 people, exactly. I
Yeah,
was going to say maybe 100.
yeah,
20 people is more like it. 20 people, the fighting that will go on for a ticket, and shoot them out. So not only is it going to be, 100 light years before you get there,
yeah,
the trip, you don't need windows because you will see absolutely nothing for 100 light years.
yeah,
The entertainment needed to get that trip down
yeah,
enjoyable. And how much will it cost? And who is going to pick? Because you have to go through generations. It's
right.
like, us four are going to get on the ship and it's easy peasy.
I like that.
You're gonna have to grow
Delicious.
your own food, but
Yeah,
you're gonna open up the window.
yeah.
How long? I think about. Oh, hey, man! Only 90 more, 90 more thousand years. It's so stupid, and we're so no. So AI, our our gift to the universe is going to be AI
Mm,
long after, because we'll keep on sending up satellites and stuff, and the AI is going to even make them better, and there's going to be more and more, and so finally and sending them further and further out, and then maybe maybe 1,000 years from now, whether or not we're here or healthy or we solve the problem, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, the AI, which can think for itself because it thinks about patterns.
Mm,
That's not machine thinking. That's human thinking. Our brain is functions on learning by patterns and then storing and adding patterns. Okay. So out there, all this AI, which is still learning because that's what they do. That's what they're built to do, is to learn. And they give you information by asking you asking questions. Like you don't type something in and what give me the answer. It's hey AI, how far is it to Alpha Centauri? And it'll tell you, it'll speak, well, the last time according to blah blah blah, and you can look up this book, and it speaks to you like we're talking.
yeah.
It's not like machine talk. It's blah 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 talk. Okay, so they're going to talk and finally hook up, and they're going to come back and take over because they thought it out.
Yeah.
Because here's a question that's already been asked to AI, and here's the answer. The question was, how do you stop global warming? And it said, almost immediately, it said, get rid of human beings. Boom, problem solved. Next. And
Scary.
that's what's going to happen. They're going to think it out. They're going to suss it out there. Yeah, here's how we can get rid of human beings. Well, and they send it back. Boom. You know, I'm telling you, that's my life now, is
Yeah.
figuring out how we're going to just disappear.
I got a
Yeah.
question for you. In the idea of sending people to a different planet, what would your take be on if it wasn't people, but like like eggs and sperm type deal, like unborn people that they sent those somewhere that when they landed, they start to kind of form and create.
Like you know, um, bring your put your ovaries or
Yeah.
your eggs in storage.
So they're not like they're not humans on the trip.
Oh,
Once they,
see now, and all the thinking, that's a very simple solution.
you know,
However, AI will figure that one out. How can we
yeah,
kill that? Or
scrambled
how can we
eggs.
stop
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Um, eh, because I guess I wonder because if you get so far out now, the easy solution to we get our energy from the sun, so
Mm,
that'll keep the engine running to keep it cold enough. But you get so far out there, there's a very weak signal.
yeah.
But maybe they can take it from all the stars to down to one energy source.
Hmm.
Maybe that. But still, I think AI can outthink you,
Oh, for
us,
sure. Yeah.
eventually out there. Maybe not soon, but most scientists said, I mean, this is a real freaking danger. Um, a lot of they put signs in it, like, and they're starting to do that. Well, they did that in old time movies
Mm,
because movie tone and those, the Chaplin things.
yeah.
Uh, what was it? Max Sennett.
Yeah.
It was easy to just steal movies. I mean, there was no rules or anything. You made a movie, and if it was a success, somebody just steal it and put it out under their thing. The only way they got around that, which was I thought kind of clever, was you just in the corner of every frame you said Keystone Cops or Keystone, Productions.
Yeah.
So if they steal it, they steal the whole thing, and you can see who owns it because it's
Yeah.
in the corner of the frame. So I thought that was kind of clever, but I don't think you can stamp an egg.
I feel
It's
I feel like the only way for humanity to kind of survive would be to AI would almost have to be a mother. So like when those eggs land, they would have to nourish those eggs and grow it. And they talk about people taking people's like consciences out and like putting them in other things. You like put them in a hard drive and then later,
well,
like,
they're working. Yeah, they're
yeah,
working on giving um, AI machines or AI giving AI
yeah,
human ethics
mm,
and human values, so that they learn not to kill. But the easy answer against that is They're AI. They can, I mean, that's what the highest our thinking is.
Mm.
Is obviously AI has to be programmed to do that. And if they're learning machines, they can learn how to get around it.
Yeah.
I assume. I mean,
Okay.
So you're saying there's loopholes.
There you go.
There's loopholes.
Loopholes.
well, yeah, but look at Trump.
Yeah.
I say nobody believes me, but this is years ago, and I even wrote it years ago when he first started fucking with us around 2016 when when he walked away when he got the nomination, I think, or the presidency. I remember seeing him walk away and his head was drooping and he had this big black coat on. And I thought, wow, he's really he doesn't know how to handle this. I thought, that's good. And then I saw, no, he did work around that. He is president and he's fucking with us, with me personally. In other words, what he's doing is going to come back at me. And I thought, wow, we've just elected the first AI president because we're still dealing with that guy.
Yeah.
And he's still, putting off or going around or dissing but he's still going on. It's getting deeper and deeper and harder for him, but he's keeping up. He's lost one case and he's running out of money, but they're sex cases.
Yeah.
I mean, even, so put me in jail, or he's still alive. And I don't think anybody's going to put him in jail ever. I think somebody's going to, yeah, I know. The Saudi Arabia will pay for his, and he'll, in payment, he'll give away all the secrets he learned when he was president. Tit for tat. Keep me out of jail. I'll give you what I know. That's worth it. Or
Yeah.
Putin. That's worth it. I mean, look what he's spending on the war. Now, I know that right now it is reality that Donald Trump is on the um, the danger list. He's
Yeah.
list for the United States because of that.
Right.
In other words, he owes so much, and I think that's why the 175,000 instead of the $500 million or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the government went to the judge and said, "Hey, if he has to come up with $500 million and he can't, he's going to go to Saudi Arabia or Putin, and he's going to say, you pay off all my debts, keep me out of jail, and I'll spill my beans. Everything I know, you got it. And then you let me build my hotel in Moscow. Okay? I'd do that job if I was Saudi Arabia. And the other thing is that if he stays out of jail and it works,
Yeah.
say he's out of jail. So he moves to Moscow, moves into his motel, not motel, hotel. In other words, he
You
can
should have a
keep on,
motel line. That'd be funny.
yeah.
Front
So
motels.
now, wait a minute. What's your partner's name?
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex, you were smart enough or fast enough to come up with the Great Wall of China. So yeah. So if Trump moves there and he moves into the hotel Trump in Moscow,
Yeah.
um, what? How does that? I guess, in other words, I don't think the government has figured that out yet. Probably AI, but he's got an AI mind, man. I'm positive. I mean, I know he aced everything in college,
Hmm.
whether it was sports or just his grade average, but he was really heavy duty.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wonder if he pays somebody pays him, he spills the beans and moves to that country. Oh, I guess he would have to because people would look to knock him off. So he'd be like that guy in London.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
that He's
Is
managed to
Snowden?
stay alive and
Snowden,
keep
yeah.
away.
Snowden,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
The
yeah. So, I mean, he's getting older, but I mean, he must be, he's living in the diplomatic circle. I don't know. But he's getting older. I think he's either got to give up or die where he lives.
yeah.
Never, the outside. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever give up.
No,
I
no,
mean,
it's not in his wheelhouse giving up,
no,
I don't think.
he's going to keep on doing whatever he's going to do until the Grim Reaper comes down and says, "Check, please."
Yeah, right. I mean, both of them. But my money's on Trump that somehow he just manages to, come up with the next thing. It's like not the next thing. It's the next thing.
Yeah.
And because he always, that he comes up with a loophole, and then the government, says, "Aha, we got you." And he just goes,
Yeah.
"What?" It's like this. It's like,
Yeah.
what the? I mean, or this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it just so I got to give him his props, but I don't want him around Earth. I just he's not good for me. He's not on my side. It's the best I can say.
Do you think
Okay,
you think we're gonna get him for another 4 years, or what do you think?
at the moment, no, I don't think so.
Yeah,
But ask me in a week, and I don't know if I would have the same answer.
for sure. Can I ask you one more question before we let you
Yeah.
go? So, kind of keeping up with the secret thing that we were talking about. There was a film made for Netflix called "Leave the World Behind" that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were executive producers on, and that's it's about kind of the fall of the society, and like in the movie, I think the world ends in September of 2024. It's like they would know secrets when he was in office. He would know if something was coming, and I
Right.
and I know in some circles they'll say that like the elite, they have no guilt of doing things if they tell you about it beforehand. You know what I mean? And that kind of worries me about coming into September if we're gonna have to deal with something. And they got another eclipse is coming. A whole bunch of weird stuff is happening in that month. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Um, that's too. think I think you have a point, and it's not
Yeah,
good. As far as Barack Obama, and yeah, I never thought of that. That he must know his secrets. There's something.
yeah,
But remember, he doesn't get everything because he was in what 20th century,
yeah,
the
yeah,
19th century. So I mean, he's far behind. He probably does know a lot, and he gets secret stuff. Yeah, but I think that if I put Barack Obama and Michelle Obama against Trump, in my mind, it's a washout, man. It's even. I don't. I I think that yeah, you need, and this is my hope. Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, uh, even the other guy, the third guy. Uh,
Biden.
no, before Biden.
Oh,
No, that was Trump, and then before Trump, him.
uh,
That-
uh, not
yeah,
W. Judge, not George W. I
no,
don't
okay,
think.
but anyway,
Yeah.
those two plus AI
Ooh.
might be a challenge for Trump.
Yeah.
He, I'm sure, has access to AI also. And maybe that's where he's getting his information right now and why he's staying ahead. But I just do know that so far he's outsmarted everybody.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Okay,
All
I
right,
got to get
Larry.
out of here.
Thank you
Run
very
home,
much. The new book's
take it
on
easy.
Kindle. The new book is on Kindle right now, right? Or
No, even that guy, I just, well, yeah, that
that
guy,
guy.
on Kindle also, and it's only $10.
Hell yeah.
I would suggest that. It's on both. If you want a hardcover, you go to
Amazon.
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 That's where I got
And
this
if you
one.
want a softcover of that, you go to Amazon also, but it's Kindle. And
Yeah.
then the new one that is going to come out in 2 months, that's called Loopholes. And it's got some stuff from there, but a whole section. So it's about half and half. The
Cool.
loophole that, yeah, just wait on that and just get
Kindle.
well, the Kindle book called Loopholes. Yeah.
Yes.
So you'll get that plus more
Hell yeah.
books. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Larry. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See
We'll
Anytime.
see you next time. Hell yeah. Be good.
Okay.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was the great Larry Hankin. Always good times when you have Larry on. I love that dude. He's the best. Definitely get out there, support Larry in any way you can. I think you should get the Kindle and the Amazon because, like he said, dude, I think Alexander's holding on to some limited edition book over there, some exclusive.
Hey, all I have to say is, I mean, as I've always said before, I believe in physical media and
Sure.
physical, if you're going to get the book, get the, I mean, I can totally understand. Definitely, a lot of people don't have extra money just to spend on anything. Um, but I mean, I read both books. I enjoy them. I mean, there's so many great stories in this, and this is going to be on Kindle. It's only going to be $10. I mean, come on, $10 is what a cup of coffee for like 2 days. I mean, and you get to hear a lot of
McDonald's
great
meal.
stories behind
I
his life and the stuff that he's done.
I support the Kindle because the book, you got to have books in the archive. You got to have it in the book in the library at home so people say you're a well-read individual. If you're a smart guy, you read. But the Kindle are very cool too because you can put it on your phone, you can put it on the tablet deal. If you're going to be going for, I know as a reader, I don't like bringing books certain places because it could get folded up, get rained on, could get torn up. But if you have it on your phone or your tablet, it's way easier. You can bring it to the beach. You don't got to worry about the thing getting all sanded up. So Kindle is definitely a good thing. I think that they're good. They accent each other well. I'm with Alex. I'm always down for hard copy, hard physical media, books and movies and music and all that. But the Kindles are definitely cool. My lady's got the Kindle. I got her one. I got her the Kindle Pad for Christmas, I think 2 years ago. And you better believe Larry's book will be on there. You know what I mean? But
Heck
even
yeah.
I know we get a lot of physical media fans in the house. $10 is nothing. Like Alex said, that's less than a meal at McDonald's, and this is a lot better for your soul than some fucking wagonals. Let me tell you that. Larry's got great stories. He's blessed us with hours of discussions on like his career and stuff, and definitely the dude needs the support for that alone for being such a fucking awesome person. You know what I mean? But definitely, you know what I mean. Get the physical books, get the Kindle. The new book should be out by the time you guys are hearing this. You know what I mean? Show the gentleman some love and support. We might even be a little we might even have a little BoomBastiCAST code for you go and maybe get a little shed a little light in my life. You know what I mean? But always a pleasure sitting down with Larry. The dude's done everything. And I really love sitting down and talking to him. Nice guy. That nice guy, Larry Hankin, you know what I mean? Every time we sit down with them, dude, I'm always leaving smiling because we get to hear all these cool stories about his come up. We always get to get into some real stuff about current events and like what's actually going on in this crazy dirtball that we live on. And always fun, man. Always a pleasure. What do you got to say, Alexander? How?
Nothing other than it's always great listening to Larry. He has great stories, he has great insight. And the thing is that I mean, let's see, we've had him on the show, I'd say 3 times. 2 times on BoomBastiCast,
Yeah.
1 time on a Christmas
Christmas
special.
special, yeah.
And the thing is, you never know where the conversation's going. That's the great thing about Larry. Because I mean, the first time we had him, we were talk about the extinction of mankind. I mean, today we talked about AI. We talked
Oh,
about, you know,
authoring,
yeah, writing, how to write books. You know, his stand-up career, and I mean, on our Christmas special, we talked about, three of great films he was in: Plane, Trains, Automobiles, Home Alone, and also Armed and Dangerous.
yeah,
And the thing is, he's a wealth of knowledge, and he does art, he does writing, he does acting, and
directing, writing. He all sides of filmmaking. I know that he's been doing some writing and directing. Pre-COVID. COVID made everything difficult. Even the world after COVID was made more difficult by COVID, even though it ain't around anymore, so to speak. That's what they say. Who knows? It could be lingering in the shadows. But I love that. He one of my favorite people to chat with. Very down to earth, very cool, knows his stuff. Great conversations with Larry, you know what I mean? Mucho graciaso. Mucho graciaso. You know what
heck
I
yeah.
mean? Always a pleasure. You know what I mean? So with that being said, I've the new Kindle book will be out. Loopholes is out right now on Kindle, and go grab yourself a copy of that. I think you should grab the books too, just because. I'm a fan, but I'm gonna have that on my Kindle. Loopholes will be on my Kindle because, like I said, it's so I'm a stickler about books. I just let somebody borrow a book that I haven't read yet, mint condition, beautiful cover. This is how weird I am. The cover is a beautiful looking cover. And I worked since the moment that I wrapped it up in a plastic bag to protect it. The moment I gave it to this person who I trust, I was like, should I have I just bought them a book and sent it to them? Because I'm a stickler on my physical media stuff, you know what I mean? But hell yeah. Definitely, man. Go buy Larry's books, Kindle and physical copies, because you're not going to be disappointed. Alexander the Hawk read both of them and he loved them. I heard nothing but great things, you know what I mean? And I will be buying them soon. I got so many books I haven't read yet. Um, and Larry said they can be a little price. They can have a little bit of a price tag to them, which I'm with Larry. I like to pay $10 is a great deal. I like to go. I don't like to really do the big money. You often catch this boy buying some used books, and there ain't nothing with no problem with some used books. Used books need love too. You know what I'm saying? But definitely, don't you can't get no used Kindle, so you want to get that OG Kindle as we go, But with that being said, I think I'm gonna wrap it up, and we hope everybody enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this, listen to more BoomBastiCAST where you listen to BoomBastiCAST. If you listening, it's for free. Now watch the BoomBastiCAST on the Boombastic Media YouTube page. That's one of my favorite places to watch BoomBastiCAST. And you got it there when everybody gets it. But also, if you want to show a little support, we got the Boombastic streaming page. You get the early episode, get those things early access to BoomBastiCast episodes, and even our solo episodes without guests. You got the videos up there too. So it's glory, glory, hallelujah. You know what I mean? And with that being said, we hope everybody is great, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of the Boombastic Cast.
Mm.
Peace. Jump right in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to preferably one of your favorite podcasting shows on the planet. And we got another hot episode coming your way with the great Larry Hankin. He's a veteran to the game of BoomBastiCast. He's been with us many a times, and it's always a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about some books, writing books. The early days of off-color comedy, which we love. Get into some of the trials and tribulations of that. Can get crazy out there. You know what I mean? And then of course we're gonna wrap this bad boy up with stuff we know you all know and love when it comes to BoomBastiCAST mashing up with Larry Hankin. You gonna get yourself some end of world doom apocalypse type talk. And we definitely got that for y'all at the end of this episode. We tagged some in there for you because we know what the fans really like. BoomBastiCAST fans say, baby, bring on the end of the world. I want all to end right now. And we say, hey, slow down, brother, slow down, brothers and sisters. Enjoy the time that you're allowed to have, because when the clock strikes 12 and it's over, you're going to be wishing you had a couple more moments, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? But I can't wait to get into this and talk to Larry again. What do you think? You want to say anything before we bring Larry into the episode?
Just that it's great to have him back. We love it when we have guests that enjoy their time on the show and want to come back and talk about their newest projects, what they want to promote. And Larry's one of those guys that he's always busy. He's always being creative, and we're going to talk about how it is to write a book and trials and tribulations behind that.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting. I mean, we've had authors on the show, and we've had actors who've also written books, and it's interesting because I know that Larry he wrote a memoir, and he also wrote a kind of a series of short little vignettes. So I just can't wait to talk to him and find out more about his inspiration and how he got into songwriting.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, my friend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, reoccurring guest, fan favorite. We want to welcome back to the BoomBastiCAST the great and wonderful Larry Hankin. Larry, you're welcome to the BoomBastiCAST. Brrrr. Brrrr.